Oh, ooh. I didn't open the thing. Where's it? Away. I'm invisible. No. One sec, one sec. Good Reaper. Oh. Can't believe it. It's because I was looking at Twitter. This shit takes so long to open now, too. Rice. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Getting there. It's getting there. Good, that's working. Come on. Come on, VC face. There we go. We'll get there. Chips better than cookies? I see. More of a savory kind of guy. What's going on? Give me a sec. There we go. Who knows? Gamers, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I just speedran make TikToks. Just recorded like 2 whole new TikToks. TikToks. I'll edit them up soon. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Hi, Reaper. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Do do. It's gaming time. Kind of. So, here's the thing. I have to go to bed early today. So, that's kind of stinky. But it's okay. We can still stream. Ah, yeah. So, it's okay. Yeah. It's fine. But yeah, I got on. I recorded 2 TikToks. Gave a homie a quick hug. And then another homie another quick hug. Those sleepy boys. Gribbon, hello. Hi, Viper. Hey. Hola. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Yes. Whoa. I did no such thing. Haha. I would. No. Just got on, recorded, hugged. Today. Oh, yeah. No. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been good for a while. Do. Mwah. Yeah, I'll be glad when this week is over, bro. It is exhausting at the moment. And I gotta get up fucking early today and early tomorrow just to stand around for 2 hours before people come in. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Oh god. Box stock, yeah, it's not even stock take, bro. We got like early. I'm doing a little bit of stock take pre stuff, which also sucks. But we're open late and early the next 2 days. I don't know why. No one fucking knows we're open. We're gonna stand around and serve the one customer that comes in. It's wild for sure. But that is why we stream, to have fun. Yes. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But I think today will be more of a comfy stream. I might potentially work on stuff while I just chat to you guys and we watch videos, maybe, if you don't mind. I know, low effort content, but like at the same time, my everything hurts. Thank you, Grib. Yeah, please do like and retweet the tweet. Thanks, homies. Yeah, like honestly though, like I was like hugging my friend and I was like having a chat before stream, and I was like only there for like 5 minutes, and holy shit, did my back hurt. Chips! Oh my god, is that the Shadow Snipe? Oh my god, he's so cute. Hello. You watching a movie? What you watching? Good, Kay's cooking. Kay's cooking? Absolutely wild. We're not watching Kay's cooking. Oh. There were good videos earlier. Where'd they go? I promise you, there were good ones. Oh, this is what it was. I don't know
$50 a piece. Let's buy them all.
Oh, that's cute.
I definitely want to get something graded. All right, so I'll just think about those for a minute. Right there.
Froggy flips.
So I've had this idea floating around in my head for a while.
Akimori, hi! Cookies,
vintage
pog.
toy hunt at a single vintage collectible store could look and feel like coming from my perspective. The number that keeps popping into my head is $5,000.
A MechWarrior mech, yeah, some cool stuff.
My first major convention is right around the corner. It seems like the perfect time to give this a shot. Now, of course, the idea of walking into a store and spending $5,000 on $5,000 worth of collectibles to turn around and sell for $5,000 makes absolutely no sense. So that's where the second part of the plan comes in. I do have a few higher dollar, higher risk, slower selling items that have been purchased as part of lots and bigger buys over the past year. Lots where the other items that were included have already been sold or traded off to the point where
$5,000 is $5,000.
Negligible at best at this point. So I decided that I would just bring these things along with me and try to trade them in. Here's all the stuff I'm bringing in for trade. We have the Neo Geo Gold system.
Pokemon cards.
Cleaning all the contacts and testing these games. Had to do a little rebuilding of this box too. It was in pretty rough shape when I got it. And then we have all these Pokemon cards. These are some of the nicer cards I've accumulated over the last year and a half, somewhere in there. Mostly some older holos. We do have some graded stuff right now.
Go back.
All these Pokemon cards. These are some of the nicer cards I've accumulated over the last year and a half, somewhere in there. Mostly some older holos. We do have some graded stuff.
It's hard to tell when it's that far away.
Stuff, and with the research I constantly do, I
feel
like
that's crazy.
If you're willing to take the risk, and if you're willing to wait for the right buyer for every single piece that you just saw, the ultimate potential retail number would probably fall somewhere between $4,500 and $6,000. So in my mind, since I have basically $0 tied into this stuff at this point, if I could get somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 in trade credit, find $5,000 worth of items that I would rather stock my booth with, and then just pay the
Interesting.
difference, that would make this plan feel like a success. At the end of the day, that number is going to pretty much rely solely on the store's risk tolerance, as well as their desire to own these items. At the very least, it should be a fun experiment. So that only leaves the question, what single vintage toy store do I choose? Of course, there are lots that I've been to that I love. There's tons that I've yet to check out, but there's one store that keeps popping up in the comments all the time from semi-local viewers, and that is a place called Crown Point Toys and Collectibles. They're
Yo,
located in a
40
town
months.
called
Hi,
Crown Point,
hello.
Indiana. I reached out to them, asked if they'd be interested in some trades, asked if they cared if I filmed my little toy hunt. They instantly got back with me and said, come on up. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's actually a couple-hour drive, so Sarah's gonna come along to keep me company. Hopefully the plan is successful, so when we get back here, we can take a look at what I find on my $5,000 vintage toy hunt.
Funny day, nice beard. What are you on about? That's not me.
How's it going? Good, thanks. Talk to someone here about
Oh.
making a video.
Okay.
And then also, yeah. What's up, man?
I think you're talking to my partner, Tom.
Okay, Anthony.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
John and
I've got some
Tom.
trades too. Do I just bring those in? This would be the best of the cards here because it's the
Yeah, Shadowless first
yeah
edition.
yeah. First
We had a
Ooh.
guy bringing Shadowless versus Charizard in the other day, graded.
I've never found that one yet.
I have never seen it. That was the first time. But, he's like, they sell between like 4,000 and 5,000. I'm like, cool. What do you want? He's like 4,000. I'm like,
Well, then
you
take it
got
somewhere
the-
else.
You got the wrong guy.
Right.
Pokemon cards. $1,100.
Okay.
Kind of where I'm at. Like this is all. These are all like $10.
Yeah.
And then that's your better stuff. So I did that Blastoise about 900.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of what I was seeing.
I mean, I'm good with that for trade on that. Yeah.
11.
Is this the store where you go? I think those are like specialty Funko Pops, not just the ones you throw in the garbage.
28.
Yeah, 28. Yeah, 1100. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
people
I love it.
are crazy about Funko Pops, and it's just landfill. But people are crazy about it. When they first came out, we were selling like 30 plus a day. It was fucking insane.
And then there's a bunch of turtles behind it. The case over
Okay.
there too.
Cool.
Probably another couple dozen.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Have a bucket.
I'm gonna go back up front and just be in charge of the case.
Okay, man. Thank you so much.
Do you think Olive would like the super?
I thought all pops go in the garbage. They so it's one of those things where it's like it's the vein. Yes, it's all landfill, right? It's just 100%. It's all landfill. You could put them into garbage. Pops them all in. But it's that thing of like, because they make scarcity of some, like they're like, oh, your store buys 20, we send you one random chase variant. Then people like go to the stores and they're going to find these like chase variants, and that those resell for a lot. But I don't know, it's all fucking dodgy shit. People reselling them from stores and stuff like that, because you just crack over the case, you go, oh, well, I'll just buy this one.
That's cute.
I definitely want to get something graded, but I don't want to go crazy on graded stuff just because.
Right.
All right, so I'll just think about those for a minute.
Yeah, you can just help yourself and go behind the counter. And...
Oh, okay. Thanks, man.
Damn, bro. Sneaking in.
She's a nice lady.
Get over there. Yeah, Spider-Man.
Never asked. Is this your first time in the store?
Yeah. Yep. I've never been to this town before.
That's nice and quiet. Rather.
I love people can weigh Poke Boosters. It's a lot harder now. Yeah, you need like a micro scale.
I've been to like Maryville and stuff like that, which I guess is probably kind of close, maybe.
That's why in the old packs, they used to do different code cards, and like the green ones were thicker than the white code cards because it would change the weight of the pack to make them like pretty close.
Yeah.
It's going good. Hi, honey.
Literally 15 minutes.
That's why that's why Crown Zenith is all is in
Okay.
boxes instead of packs, because there's no way of weighing them.
Buildings and everything with the small businesses, kind of neat.
And that's because like you can get like multiple full arts, which would make the pack super heavy. There'd be noticeable difference. The Ecto Blaster. Sheesh.
Right,
Ecto Blast these nuts.
right there. Yep, that one. Awesome, thank you.
I saw. I sold a $500 hair straightener today to this lady, and I only remembered her name because it was it was Wendy, and I was making the joke in my head, Wendy's nuts hit your face. And I'm like talking to someone, I was putting it out, and I'm like, oh, that's her name, Wendy.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, Crown Zenith is not individual packs. It's not. There's no booster pack individual boxes or anything like that. It's just in boxed product. Like the Elite Trainer box is like the most packs I think you can get in one thing. That or the big Zacian boxes.
No, the guy who got there was only one gene per case. That was going to be the rare piece, so he was like stocking up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all the genes and I mean, it's still good, but not as good as everything.
I don't see lots of carded Ghostbuster stuff, period, though.
My whole case was full at one point.
Really?
That explains it. Yeah.
It was obscene. In a good way.
He was just trying to buy packs.
I'll just buy them all. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I
5,
bought the
6,
extra
7,
amount
8,
because of
9,
the
10.
box.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Easy enough.
I post you on it because I don't math so well.
I probably do want to grab the Rancor sealed.
Okay.
I'm just making sure before you get up there if there's anything else.
Please edit any shots of my belly.
That's cool. And I do want to grab a Wicket too.
Wicket.
Yeah.
Wild.
Just because I need one.
Doesn't matter which one.
No, as long as it's complete. That's which I think they are. Yeah. Remote control R2D2. Cool. And then I'm gonna do all 3 of the graded mailaways.
Okay.
And the graded Jabba.
Cool.
And possibly this thing just could.
Yeah.
No, he's buying all this stuff to sell at a convention. So he's going to like a comic convention,
When I did the
and he's
Google
basically
Live
just buying stuff that he can then resell at the convention. So he'll make a booth and then sell it there.
and I
Not
was,
necessarily just
paying
Pokemon cards.
for helium.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was like a carnival game, like where you shot the water in his mouth or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was the
yeah.
first tour because you can actually put it on.
Oh,
Sure. We got that, and then I'll grab a job.
Okay.
Up there.
How do you feel it's going, to be honest? Yeah, it is a little weird.
You want that clown head, $50.
awesome. Deal.
Cool, I'll grab it. 1750.
$17.50.
Is that? Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Let me get a couple more tubs.
Okay.
All right, and then he has 2,800 in credit.
Okay. All right, you're at 2593. You had 2,800.
Yeah. Oh, that's all we're at. Oh shoot. He said $50 on this right here.
Oh, I didn't see that.
This guy.
Okay. 50. You're at 2643.
Okay, so it's like 150 more real quick.
What a nice guy, at least. He's not robbing the store.
What's that Chewy look like? Maybe let's pay the difference on that one. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So 293.
293.
Convention fellows are suckers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I
Much,
mean,
man.
Do that.
Probably taking like.
so obviously, like the big thing about conventions is you're going specifically to look for items, I guess. So then you're willing to pay more of a premium, but yeah, you just fucking because you can physically see it, right? Like you're not like doing some fucking eBay bullshit or whatever. So yeah, I get that that's like the premium part of it, but yeah, it's hard.
Did you
Still
want me to do
weird.
things to you?
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to meet you.
You've been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, appreciate that. Anthony.
So that store, but so like he essentially traded in $5,000-ish worth of stuff to get $2,800 worth of like store credit, right? So like that store makes money just because it like sells it to you super cheap, and if they give you store credit, then you can get a little bit more. But if they were doing cash, he'd probably only get like maybe 2.2 for it or something like that.
How much? Yeah, definitely.
Does he get the plastic tubs for
I
free?
can definitely see what all the fuss is about when it comes to Crown Point toys and collectibles. Super nice people, an amazing selection, and the prices were pretty spectacular across the board from what I could tell. I honestly don't think that plan could have gone much better. We landed at the high end of what I was hoping for when it came to the trade credit, and I was able to leave with a large selection of items that spans quite a few different price points, which is exactly what I was hoping for. In fact, the prices were so good that in many cases here, I'm seeing potential value beyond what they even had marked. So in other words, for less than $2,000 out of pocket, I'm seeing the potential for over $5,000 worth of nice, desirable, collectible items. So real quick, let's take a closer look. I think one of the best places to demonstrate some of that excess potential value would be
with something like this though. Like the store gives you a good amount of extra of credit, specifically because they know you're going to buy a lot, and then they give you a discount on what you buy, so that you buy even more generally, or at least they know that they're going to get a very big return customer. It's like, say this does well for him, right? He goes and takes this stuff and sells it somewhere else. They still made that money, and then they'll just get more money later, so they don't mind.
Here with the Teenage Mutant
And then
Ninja Turtles pieces.
it just takes some of the risk off them.
I tried to grab pieces with really nice cards and nice bubbles.
Because it's hard to advertise this sort of thing.
Makes a difference with this line. What I noticed when I got home, a lot of their prices they had on these items were really at the low end of the market. Prices that would be more consistent with beat up cards or cracked bubbles or super yellow bubbles. I mean, obviously, when you're running a store and you want to get this stuff in and out as quickly as possible,
yeah, exactly,
all day, every day, it makes sense to price that way because you're going to rely on volume and quick turnover. I'm lucky in the fact that I can kind of take each piece and look at it individually. For example, if we take this Raphael Space Cadet figure, really nice unpunched card, really clear bubble, no scratches or anything. Super straight card. It had a price tag of $60, and honestly, in this condition, I think it could be valued closer to $100. Some of them were pretty close, like this Slapshot Leo was priced at $75. I think that's about right, $75, $80. If you look at Tattoo here, he was priced at $50. I think asking closer to $75 could even be justified. Got a few different versions of April that I think could all be considered slightly under as well. Like this one was marked at only $35. Nice unpunched card, probably closer to $60 in my eyes. Here's a nice 10-back April that was priced at $25. Not the earliest variant, of course, but still, I think probably closer to $35 to $40 on that one. Got some of the Ravishing Reporter Aprils. They were marked between $20 and $25. I think they're closer to $30, so those are pretty close. Couple nice versions of April, the Ninja Newscaster, marked at $20 and $25. I think they're probably $35 to $40 each. Got the TD Toss and Leo. Bubble's a little yellow on this one, but the card's really nice and unpunched. It was marked at $55. I'd still think it's closer to $70, even with the bubble like that. The only one I picked up that I might price a little lower would be the Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein April. It was marked at $120. I think somewhere between $100 and $110 would be the
damn, bro. Oof.
$120 is pretty darn close. If we start breaking away from some of the turtle stuff, I found this really nice Kenner Superpowers penguin figure. Beautiful.
They actually, like,
unpunched card.
Reese, I think the last few years redid a heap of these, if I remember correctly.
You honestly don't see them this nice very often. It's the 23.
It's a big thing now. Is like they're re-releasing, they're like releasing similar looking figures.
More realistically, that's a $250 piece right there.
I don't know, bro.
Cool G1 Transformers Megatron. Never ever see these. I told myself if I ever came across one, I really had to try to grab it. This was the perfect situation.
I get stuff like, I understand stuff like cards and stuff, but like this sort of stuff is like so hard to keep in a good condition, and it's just like a lot.
Reproduction boxes sell for over $600, so I think the price was really fair on this. I'll be honest, this one's going to be a little tough to get rid of, I think. And then we come to all the Ghostbusters stuff.
That's what I was saying, right? Like, so like the store gets rid of their risky items, and this guy picks it up and tries that risk. So even if like he doesn't sell them, like the store wins out, and then he probably still goes back.
Sealed Janines. They were all priced individually. He said I could have any or all of them for $50 a piece. I think there were only 2 that were marked less than $50, so I decided just to take the whole bin, take the bad with the good, because I thought that was so fair. In my opinion, sealed Ghostbuster stuff is really hard to put a definite value on. And I think that's because you don't see really nice cards very often. There was something about the Ghostbusters packaging, it just didn't seem to hold up very well. Not that it was supposed to. With a few of these, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is the one that's probably in the worst condition. This Screaming Heroes Janine. This is one of the ones that was marked under 50, and you can see why it was priced that way. Just because the bubbles coming up, the cardboard's starting to separate. There's bends and dents all in it. The bubble itself is pretty dented. But then you come across one like this. He had it marked at at $125 originally. No creases, absolutely beautiful. The bubble is completely clear and crisp. The back is nice and straight with no creases. At the end of the day, I think all of these prices are pretty well researched. I'll probably keep them pretty similar, maybe not take everything all at once. But when it comes to collectability, if someone's looking to complete and grade a set of Fright Features Ghostbusters, one like this would make a really good choice in my opinion. Also picked up this nice sealed Ghost Popper. You don't see those very often in that condition. We got the Rapid Fire Ecto Blaster in a very nice box. And of course the amazing clown head, made in the 1970s by Wendy. It is a helium topper. Ended up getting that for $50. Sarah liked it. I couldn't resist it either. And if you take a look at comps, $50 was a great deal. Not that I would ever want to ship something like that. And lastly, that brings us to what is obviously my favorite, and that is all
Star
this
Wars.
beautiful Star Wars stuff. First of all, grab the complete Wicket for my loose collection. Only $40. A Wicket can many times set you back more than that, so $40 on a Wicket's a great deal. If you're into the graded stuff, I think these are really cool. These are 3 of the mail-away figures from the early to mid-80s. They're all sealed in the baggies with their boxes and their paperwork that came with them. I think the most valuable would probably be Akbar here at the bottom. They're all graded 85. You don't see them a lot, so it's really hard to put a value on them. I think the prices he had on them were very fair, but it's certainly a specialized market. At the end of the trip, when I was just trying my best to hit the budget, I grabbed this 1984 Power of the Force Chewbacca mint on card with coin. I believe it was marked at $425. I don't think you could currently find one on eBay in this type of condition for that price, so I was definitely happy to pick this up. Nice straight card with no creasing. Beautiful 92 back right there. Got the radio controlled R2-D2. I think that was priced about right. It was like $165. I think I usually see them for between like
Oh,
140
shit.
and 200.
See this on the right? Look at those OG Pokemon figures. Goddamn.
Pretty spot on there, I think. This is something you don't see very often. It's an AFA graded sealed Jabba the Hutt playset. Graded 75. With how thin and flimsy these boxes are, it'd probably be pretty tricky to find one much better than this. But the Jabba the Hutt playset is my absolute favorite Star Wars playset. I love the size of the box.
A weird thing to sell as a
I
playset.
love everything about the Jabba playset. Value-wise, this was marked at $650. One recently sold on eBay. It was a 75 plus, so I guess you would consider that maybe slightly better, but it sold for $900. So in all honesty, I feel like $650 was an amazing deal on this piece. And lastly, that brings us to what is probably my favorite item from the entire trip. It's
Your
this
Rancor.
sealed Kenner Rancor monster. I think the price was somewhere between $425 and $450, but if you could see the condition of this box in person, with the tape still sealed, how incredibly straight it is, much like the Jabba playset, the cardboard is just so thin on this box. You never see them this bright, this crisp, this straight.
Interesting.
I love the service merchandise price tag on it. I think the most recent sealed Rancor from this line that I saw on eBay sold for well over $500, and the box was pretty destroyed on that one. It still had the tape seal on it, but the cardboard had definitely seen better days. Now, I will pick up graded pieces from time to time, as you see here. I'm not the type of person that's going to send a toy off to be graded. I think this one almost deserves to be. Maybe not by me, but by somebody, because I think this would come back really high, and I think it would be a really solid investment. You just
That'd be such a
don't
bitch
see
to
like
pack,
this.
though.
I don't know how this was stored for the last 40 years, but someone did a great
Like,
job.
imagine that
That
you
is all I got for you
pack
this
it and it
time.
gets
As always, I
fucking
wanna thank you
dropped
so
in the
much for
fucking
watching.
mail.
Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Love ya. Bye.
Is he sure selling them?
Did you say they're all 50 apiece?
What's
You
this one?
purchased an abandoned store.
Show me the stuff.
Yeah.
What are you asking on it?
250.
250?
Yeah.
You want to pull it off for 250 real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, deal.
Mm.
I love it. Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
man.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
All right, man.
Damaged or beat up, or if they were empty even. As it turned out, not only was everything sealed, most of it is
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I know. This is like...
It's kind of nuts, but I wanted to give you first crack, man. I really respect like what you do.
I appreciate
So,
that.
Rather than just some random person on eBay. Not no disrespect to them, but I mean you definitely treasure this type of stuff. So.
I appreciate it, man. This is like... I might be shaking a little
Yeah.
bit. I mean, if you do both tables for $3, I'd do it.
Okay. Yeah.
If if you're comfortable there.
Absolutely, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that was easy enough. Yeah, I mean, like, this was the wild card for me because I saw the pictures. It could have just been boxes.
Yeah. Nope.
So-
Everything is in there, man.
I didn't want to ask too many questions because
No.
that's part of the fun.
No, you're.
What do you mean? It's part of the fun. That's so spooky. Shut it again. Rocks. Yeah, yeah. People are like, there's a thing. I don't know if you've had this problem with garbage, but we had to be taught that about people trying to return iPhones because they now sell the Apple Seal tape on what is it fucking called? When I say Etsy, it's not Etsy. What is it? Some fucking website. And Amazon? No, the other one, the more dodgy one. But anyway, they're resealing iPhone. They like go buy an iPhone and reseal it, and then try and get the money back, and they just fill it with fucking rocks. AliExpress, yeah, AliExpress, yeah. They're buying the tape from AliExpress and then retaping the boxes. Apparently, it's good enough that it has fooled several stores. So crazy, absolutely wacky stuff. People be scamming all the time. Where are all the good videos at, Chris?
You know what? No matter how many times you look at Mount Fuji on a screen, it never really does it justice. Sometimes you have to see it with your own eyes. And, speak of the devil, it's Mount Fuji. That's right, guys. This isn't a blue screen, a spectacular view of Mount Fuji from a magnificent, tiny apartment on wheels. Right, I'm going back to bed. See you later. If you head out into the Japanese countryside these days, you'll probably witness a booming camping and outdoor scene. And let's face it, it's not hard to see why, given the spectacular scenery that the country has to offer. Especially combined with the fact we've just spent the last 3 bloody years unable to go outside. Well, today we've managed to lay our hands on a one-of-a-kind prototype built by Mitsubishi Fuso, whose Canter trucks you'll see all over Japan. For the next 24 hours, this Nomad Pro is all ours, and we're better to put it to the test, both as a living space and on the road, than the base of Mount Fuji and the scenic shores of Lake Motosu. You think the view of Mount Fuji is spectacular? Wait till you see what Mitsubishi Fuso have managed to pack inside this truck. We're going to take it for a spin tomorrow, which I'm a little bit nervous about. I've never driven anything quite like this, but first things first, let's go and take a tour inside, and somebody is waiting for us. Ooh, who could it be?
Ooh.
Take a guess. 3, 2, 1. Who could it be?
Hello.
Hey, Charlotte, how you doing?
Good. It's amazing in here.
On
Can
a
I
scale
show
of-
it to you?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to, like, good.
Very good.
Very good.
Impressively good.
It is insane. All right, I'm coming in. Wait, is this a bath
He's
stall for
coming?
a shower?
It is. But before I show you this, which is actually my favorite part of the whole place,
Right.
I want to show you this wall because it transforms into a whole office.
Are you having a laugh? Hang on, let me
Okay.
shut the door. Let's be cozy. Oh, so cozy. All right.
So if you sit down there,
Yeah.
and I sit down here, so you just push this little latch,
Right.
and then there's another latch here.
Right.
and that
Oh my
slides
God.
over, and then this flips over,
No way.
and you have a desktop.
Ah,
But wait,
there's more.
it gets better.
Impossible.
Inside here,
Yeah.
we have computer monitors. 2 of them.
2 his and her matching monitors. I can edit one
The
video.
dream.
You can edit yours. Why are there 2? That seems excessive.
No,
doesn't
it works really well.
Right.
So you can pull one out like this, right?
it? Yeah. Oh my god.
And then this one will pull it onto this side, and there's another bench that'll pull it over there. So we can both be sitting here
Wow.
working on our videos.
It's starting to feel more
Fucking
like a
crazy.
workspace on wheels than like an apartment at this point.
Definitely. It would be perfect for that.
I want to see the kitchen. I want to see the shower, but it's a little bit cramped.
Yeah, should we open up the wall?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Show us how you open up the wall. Come on.
Okay, so this panel folds down
Right.
to give you like a little balcony.
Yeah, it pretty much doubles the floor space of the whole thing.
It's really nice. We're gonna have a little barbecue later. We can sit up here with a view of Mount Fuji.
Fantastic. Who's going to be cooking the barbecue?
Fucking crazy.
Who wants sausages and salmonella? Delicious. Ugh.
Okay, but the best part, okay, push the little button.
Yep.
The one that says up, but watch your head.
Why, what's going to happen? Oh my goodness. Whoa.
It all opens up.
It's like a
so
transformer. Transforming RV. That is so cool. It's pretty much like tripled the size of it inside it,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
Before you burn down the entire campsite with your cooking, let me show you the rest.
Yes, let's check out this kitchen and...
Yo, Pizza Man, thank you for the follow. Hi.
Awkwardly, as it is quite literally a very tiny house. But I'm going to show you guys the washroom. How cute is this little onsen ofuro set? You can sit on this little bench
Beautiful.
and
Beautiful.
have a nice shower with Mount Fuji out the window. So let me show you how it works.
Doing good, bro.
There's a
Hi.
door.
Wait.
Not another door. What the...
Like this.
Hi.
Take the shower off. Bye.
So it's like its own little shower room. That's insane. How is that? Is it actually spacious in there?
I wouldn't call it spacious, but I think, let's see, let me grab the shower handle. I think, yeah, there's definitely
I'm just going to switch the shower on.
enough room to, oh god.
Just going to put the shower on now. Is that all
Go
right?
for it, yeah, go, yeah.
No, fuck no.
Get out of here. Away with you. This is all storage. These just open up.
Whoa.
Quite a bit of space in here.
That's pretty cool.
And then
They use so much space so well.
is a toilet.
What? This will be the only thing we don't use in the RV.
I'm not quite sure how it works, and I don't think I want to know. But yeah, overall, it's pretty cool setup. They've used this very small space very well. There's a little shelf here with shampoo, body soap. It feels like a business hotel, honestly.
So this is the kitchen space. If you watch the first few years of Abroad Japan, this is actually bigger than my fucking kitchen in that apartment. That's saying something awful. But we've got a light switch. Oh, there we go.
That's
What's that? Oh, this is the button here that triggers the pump for the water.
Ooh.
And light switch
Whoa, what
there.
the fuck?
But what? I can't believe there's like running water. Where is it coming from?
Probably.
Like a magic. Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
Not so much magic as engineering. There's 4 bottles of water in there, probably enough for a few minute shower. My usual 20-minute shower out the window, unfortunately, tomorrow. Can't have it all. But there is a fridge. And within the fridge, which is fully operational, we have Chris's dinner. Check that. Yeah. But really nice. They've thought of everything. I mean, the thing that amazes me the most is the shower and the fact that, like a traditional Japanese shower, the water goes through the floorboards. And I'm going to test that out tomorrow morning. And we're also going to see the bed. But as the sun goes down over Mount Fuji, I think
Where the
it's
magic
gonna-
happens, yes.
Given Lake Motosu is 900 meters above sea level, it gets pretty chilly round here at night. And so as the sun sets over Mount Fuji, before we head into our home for the night, we crack out the campfire and I put my Michelin award-winning chef skills to the test.
Check that out. What a beautiful campfire. I love camping. It's my favourite thing.
This is definitely the first time you've ever been camping in the entire time I've known you.
In about 20 years' time. It's been bad. But look at this. Got a sausage. Yeah?
Got some hamburgers?
Yeah, just for you. Check that out.
Very worried.
Some nice processed cheese there. Look at that. The sausages look good though.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with those, really. So.
Well, I did cook it, but...
Cheers.
2 foreigners were found dead of food poisoning this morning by the base of Mount Fuji. Oh. Set the bar pretty high for camping though. This might just be Japan's best campsite with that view, right?
And the camping car. Honestly, everything is really perfect. I feel like I'm not going to be able to take you camping now because you're just not going to be impressed with anything.
No, never again. I think the first time I made a video with Charlotte ever was here around Lake Kawaguchi, and we drove around. We went around on bicycles. We dropped the sausage all over the floor. We went to Fuji-Q Highland Park, the best theme park in Japan. and Charlotte nearly died.
That was the worst experience of my life.
Oh, for that.
Thanks for that.
Oh, tomorrow, do you want to go?
No.
I'll drive it.
We are not going.
We're definitely going. We're definitely going.
Well, having survived my barbecue, it's time to head inside to bed. But not before dramatically closing the wall and entombing Charla within the RV.
Look at this, Charla in a burger van. It looks like one big hot dog stand or something. Or the merchant out of Resident Evil 4. What are you buying? Anyway, can I come in now?
I've set up the bed. It's
All
quite comfy.
What we got to do now is close
it's really comfy,
the roof.
actually.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. watch out.
Maybe.
Oh god. Oh god. Beheaded. Woohoo. Into the warm, cozy interior.
Come on in.
It's so much warmer. Yes.
It made such a difference. As soon as you closed this, it got like 10 degrees warmer, I swear.
It's very cozy though.
It's nice, yeah. I was worried it was going to be too
That was
cold.
good use of
but now
space.
I feel like
It's still like
starting to-
tiny. I'd feel
Is there a
claustrophobic,
heater in
but it's still cool.
So,
No.
body heat.
Yay! It's crazy. If you hadn't seen the rest of this video and you just saw this now, you probably wouldn't even know it was a camper van with a nice wooden finish until you look that way and see it is very much a camper van and it is rather cramped. But it isn't so cramped that it's like claustrophobic. It's quite spacious.
No, it's really cozy. To me, it doesn't feel that cramped, but that could be because
Chip
I live
keys?
in Japan.
Okay, Violet. Good job.
But
You
it's
found the
small
secret.
Yeah, the bed is
and-
good, right?
It's good. It's really nice. Yeah, it's soft. Ooh, it's got a memory foam
Ooh,
mattress.
a memory foam mattress. It's better than our bed in the apartment.
So back here we've got the power switch, so we can turn the power on and off. There's a place to charge phones.
Good
This
job.
tells you how much battery's left in the camper. There's some crisps that I spilled earlier.
Charming.
That's about it. Thoughts on your first proper camping experience?
I really like it actually. I think I could probably spend a week on the road in this thing. I especially like in the summer months that you can open up and have this amazing panoramic view while you're at your desk working, right? Like during COVID, the whole workation kind of movement really kicked off in Japan for the first time. People working on the road, and then it died off and everything went back to normal pretty much straight away after COVID. But yeah, I think this is a really cool concept.
Yowdy.
I'm interested to see how it drives tomorrow. Let's hope I don't write it off. The only one of its kind.
Thanks for the
But,
follow.
really glad there's no toilet in here. That's the only thing I think that could ruin it. Well, there is a toilet, but let's face it, we're not going to be using that. Luckily, we're at a campsite and there are some nice toilets here. But I will try out the shower in the morning, though.
Yeah.
I think it's cold water only.
Okay, maybe there'll be no shower tomorrow. But first things first, let's go to sleep and see how well we can sleep in the camper van from the future. Whoa. It's 9 AM and it's time for my morning shower.
What are I doing?
And it's
Just
right
working
over
on
here.
stuff while we watch some
The moment we'll wait
videos.
for, the moment of dread. Oh god. Oh god. Should have probably taken off my jeans as well, but there's, oh god. It's quite refreshing actually. It's a good way to wake up in the morning. Good old little Hinoki wooden bucket.
Elon trip? No, it's Abroad Japan in a
And
tiny
that's how you wake up
little
in the morning.
van.
So even if you've never been to this spot before, you might have seen it without realising it, because it is in fact on every single 1,000 yen bill in Japan. There it is.
It is. It's the exact view. So if you stand here and you line it up like this.
Oh wow, yeah. Lake
Crazy.
Motosu, the best view of Fuji. But how do you sleep in the car last night? Was it good?
It was a comfy bed. Waking up to the sunrise was amazing.
Just the sounds of nature in the morning, you know, the water gently lapping the shore, the sound of the birds chirping.
The sound of him snoring
Mhm.
loudly all night.
But
Yeah,
it's time
today.
to take this baby for a spin. Let's see how it handles out on the roads.
I have
of
to get up
Fuji. It's
early
time
tomorrow, so
to
normally
light
the
it
stream would
off.
be a little bit longer. I might play a game. We'll see. I don't have like a super. I don't have lots of time today.
Hey,
Just a
life
comfy
on the
little.
open
Jesus.
road. This is a manual.
Comfy
You
little
can drive
stream.
Manual or automatic. It's my first time driving a vehicle. of
You
this
suggest
size
it?
and
No,
scale,
no,
doing
just
it
watching
up
stuff
a
to catch up
mountain.
on
What a stupid
videos I've
idea
missed
this
and
was.
whatnot.
Why did I think of this? We should have gone to Fuji Q.
No.
Should have gone to the theme park.
This is much better.
To be fair, surely the roller coasters of Fuji-Q are safer than my driving on this mountain.
I'm not going to argue there.
I feel like this vehicle is just one big tease from Mitsubishi Fuso. Like, what a great RV we can make. The best in the world. Amazing. But you can't buy it. Like, seriously. You can't make something this great and then not put it on sale. It's my birthday coming up, and I know what I want.
Car that doesn't exist.
A car that doesn't exist, and driving lessons for a manual, because I've completely
That I will
forgotten
get you.
how to drive manual.
So a tweet.
So
Yeah.
normally, this is
Cool
the part of
outfit.
the video where I would tell you to go and buy the truck in the description box below.
Mm.
Buy it now. But you can't, because it's a prototype. Although it is sad it's only a concept, it's pretty incredible to see this type
Pretty
of
sweet.
truck that's synonymous with Japan's city streets being customized and used in such a unique way.
This is the one time I might be like, yes, let's buy an RV. Like, taking
Mhm.
the office on the road. What a great place to edit as well. Just here, overlooking Fuji. But it'd be interesting to see what Mitsubishi Fuso think up next. They have lots of wacky and exciting prototypes on the go. But, Charlotte, what was your favourite thing about the Nomad Pro?
Just imagining owning one of these and being able to park it anywhere in Japan and
Mm.
edit from the workstation is so cool.
Like, yeah, you really could work in it quite
Yeah,
comfortably. Yeah. And for
I gotta look
me,
at outfits on Booth,
shower.
and this is like, look at this outfit. I can't show it on stream, but I'm looking at this outfit where it's like a Q-top, a necklace, and these jeans. But then there's like underwear for the jeans that comes with it, and the underwear is also dead. It's also denim. It looks ridiculous.
Just
You
even in the
enjoyed
shower,
the shower this morning?
I'd have to find a way of mixing it with hot water, probably, or embracing the cold, a very Spartan way. But yeah, honestly, 10 out of 10, loved it. What do you think though, guys? Let us know in the comments below. I'm sure Mitsubishi will be checking out your ideas as well. If you have any wacky prototype
Crazy.
ideas, let them know. But it is a prototype, it's the only one. Now I've got to drive it back to Tokyo without crashing it and writing it off. The scariest part of the video. But we're not going to film it. Yeah. See you later, guys. As always, check out more stuff on the Abroad Japan Patreon. Let's get going. Back to Tokyo. I've never felt so much pressure. You have to see that didn't click my...
You gonna make us breakfast in the morning?
No. Oh, it's burning my kneecap.
I could be Stanley Kubrick sometimes.
But first, let's shut the door on your face. You have no idea how many...
So many cyber outfits. I'm pretty sure this person did a cyber outfit, and it's like the exact. It's not the exact same, but it's very similar. They did. It's the one I posted the fucking thing in. I don't know if I want this. I'm seeing a lot of Baki. Yes. Watching a lot of the groups garbage. Can't believe it. So much RuneScape. I'm like caught up on Odo's group, but I haven't caught up on the Farmers V2 stuff. I'm good, Canadian. It's alright. Why is... You guys see this? I think I talked about it yesterday. Yeah, the death of a game, Overwatch. Kid said Oda. He's got the XQC energy. He is very similar. Yeah. Back for Blood dead. I'm actually kind of interested in this one. I played the beta for this, for Black for Blood, and I was like, this game's dead.
This video is brought to you by the creators of Death of a Game. No, seriously. And in this episode, we're covering another Turtle Rock Studios game, Back for Blood, said to be a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead 2. From the creators of Left 4 Dead, well, sort of. More like the creators of
Guys are
Evolve,
cute.
another title we covered in the series, Back 4 Blood was a cooperative zombie narrative action game that launched back in October of 2021. Although Back 4 Blood would garner some success thanks in large part to its feature on Xbox Game Pass, within just over a year, support would be reportedly cancelled for the game.
It was an okay game. I wouldn't even say okay. I don't know, bro.
Some thoughts about the title, but the series is really about navigating the timeline of a game from pre.
My biggest problem, right, is that like even though I hadn't played Left 4 Dead in a very long time, I played a lot of Left 4 Dead like 1 and 2, and we played a lot of it like on Expert, and like the harder two options of this one were like insanely hard compared to it, and it was like it was this thing of like there's no way that you could like beat like the hardest option like off the rip, and it was like so like they're like you're unlocking like paying money to like make the game easier. It's just like that's a no bueno, bro. It's like I remember like watching what's his name? There was some like really good shooter players like trying it out, and they're like saying that like it's like impossible. But it was just because you would have like the special infected like one after Shroud. Yeah, Shroud was playing it. Yeah, but like it was so weird because like normally in Left 4 Dead you'd have like a couple special infected, and it's like no, it was like all pretty doable. This it was like I remember we had a section and it was like 4 or 5 special affected in like right like one after another, and it was like so painful. I'm good Canadian.
And finding the largest clues and bits of evidence that lead to uncovering what the largest reasons for the game's failures are. Stay tuned until the end of the episode for Detective's favorite final deduction where we put it all together.
Beauty led.
Following the flight and then fall of their previous multiplayer shooter, Evolve, Turtle Rock Studios, which used to be a part of Valve and then became independent again before Tencent acquiring them in 2021.
No, not Tencent.
This time relying more heavily on the roots of the company to an extent, aka zombies and aka action. Turtle Rock Studios would announce what many were calling a spiritual successor to the iconic Left 4 Dead series by Valve and Turtle Rock Studios, dubbed Back 4 Blood, March 14th, 2019. If you remember in my Evolve video, which should be a hint to go watch that one if you haven't, detectives, then you remember that Turtle Rock Studios, or whoever owns it now, is quite fond of advertising their Left 4 Dead roots, including on future projects as a marketing tool. Now, there isn't anything inherently wrong with doing this, except that on Back 4 Blood, for instance, it contains only 6 of the over 200 plus developers involved in Left 4 Dead 2. And
Rip Evolve, yeah, Rip
Back 4
Evolve.
Blood, they highlighted this discrepancy in great detail. Not only does it come across as disingenuous out of the gate, again, since Turtle Rock Studios already did it with Evolve, it feels like they're setting an insanely high standard and expectation on their upcoming new game. It's like if someone made a new vacuum but had a few creators of Dyson or something working on it and advertised that straight out of the gate. Well, you better be putting Dyson out of business because with all likeliness, you're probably getting buried by a corporation.
I'm not saying this, but Dyson kind of sucks. Anyway,
The point is that heavy expectations can kill you before you
spend like
pass
twice as much
Still,
for a worse
TRS
vacuum.
can deliver, and fans like myself were excited
Yep.
enough as the new Left 4 Dead like shooter hadn't come out.
Not
in
even like
some
the
time.
vacuum
That doesn't
pun.
mean
They're
it
just
wasn't
not as
like
good
for
as like
zombie games in
Samsung.
circulation, just that cinematic narrative-based cooperative shooter zombie games were kind of Left 4 Dead's whole realm. Back 4 Blood's closed out
Left 4 Dead
on
2?
December 17th,
Yeah.
2020, and it featured one level from the campaign and some details concerning the game itself. For starters, you would now play as a cleaner, which as TRS would state would be less scared and impressional versions of the survivors from Left 4 Dead. Cleaners were effectively professionals. There was also a new card system which basically served as mutations or upgrades for players. Back 4
Only
Blood was
Nifty
supposed
stick
to
back
launch
even
the
then,
summer of
yeah.
2021, but would be delayed until October.
Sigh, hoy,
Back
like
4 Blood would
cutie.
become playable to
Well, it's
everyone
like
during their open beta
like
summer.
they released a Dyson RoboVac to like the public and like a more thing, and it's like the most expensive. Doesn't have an empty station or anything like that, and it's like the video for it is like, make sure you have nothing on the floor because this thing sucks so much that it'll fucking ruin your shit.
Summer 2021, priming everyone for their new targeted fall launch. This is the first time I played the game and at quite a length. I easily put 40 hours into Back 4 Blood during this time, as I was a huge fan of Left 4 Dead, but more specifically, the PvP.
How are you? Doing good. I feel much better now. But before stream, I was very tired. I got on to record a couple of TikToks. Like I feel like went to work, got home, recorded TikToks. Like I ate food, recorded TikToks, and then like started stream. And I feel pretty good now that I've like been streaming for a bit because it's like just comfy, right? I like hanging out with you guys.
Back 4 Blood, I was expecting some
Hydrate, thank you, Kev. How are you?
More of that fun, but was like many other players let down tremendously when I realized that the PvP
it is hi.
Is all about a swarm mode where teams take turns competing for the best time. If that sounds boring,
see you next time. Oh, have a good day at work. Bye, Maury. Hi. Bye. Hell yeah. That's some water. Grow a little flower.
PvP and Back 4 Blood was turning out to be boring in the open beta already, which wasn't a good sign.
Did you guys like the TikTok today? The Super Saiyan one, Super Saiyan Rindo. I did like I could show you guys like the second part of it after this video, but like I separated it because I thought it was too long. But I had fun making it.
Being limited. But even the Ridden themselves, as they were dubbed in this game, the special hero zombies, were all rather poorly and boringly designed.
Thank you for the flower, Violet. Thank you. You're so cute.
That made them both useful and fun to play. Many of the ones in Back 4 Blood just felt like boring reskins of another variant, and not a good reskin either. I feel like quality over quantity here would have helped a lot more, and actually evolving some identity for your monsters would have helped as well. Another element of Back 4 Blood that was hitting with mixed results was the new card system that set the game
just didn't understand the fucking cards, bro.
Why set yourself apart sort of things? I get having upgrades in the game, but the card system felt like a needless and pointless RNG that doesn't even thematically.
The weapon upgrade stuff wasn't great either.
Some of the upgrades could be useful and even help and benefit your team, which made playing as a loner or support player a reality, but the execution just felt needlessly convoluted. If they wanted you to upgrade skills doing the classic MOBA level as you go approach seemed to be the best one in my opinion. The card system being a bit of a hit and miss wasn't too bad of a loss for Back 4 Blood though. The most worrying thing that I noticed during the open beta was actually the content and the shelf life of the game itself. I had concerns that the game's content would last players past a few months of casual play, but TRS possibly anticipating this issue as they were fully aware that they were launching a game as a service, which means that people were probably gonna hate it at launch, would release their game on Xbox Game Pass, making it playable to millions of players without having to buy the full price game. This would not only open up Back 4 Blood to a massive Xbox audience and online PC audience, but give them a healthy player base to last the next coming months, which would be crucial for the launch of the game. And also,
does that ever work? I can't think of like, I'm sure it probably does, but because I just don't play like a lot of Xbox Game Pass stuff. I can't think of like a ton of stuff where it's like started like that and done really well. Gonna be sleeping. Aww, Pug. Yo, iPad. Whoa, hell yeah.
They could package together for a combined edition at a later date, much like Evolve and all the other games as a service have featured.
Games as a service is such a bad thing now.
As expected, launch October 12th, 2021.
Like, it's just so stupid, right? Because you want your player base to fucking play longer instead of adding more things for them to buy, i.e. the card pack thing. Like, if they just had the character progression and all that stuff put into that rather than like this shit, like it does. The games as a service thing is like it's just I want money. It's like they just make worse video games because of it. And then the player base plays less, so then they make less money. I don't understand. They just want the whales. Stupid.
Leslie designer Chris Aston of Left 4 Dead fame would state, Back 4
Blood, and if they don't get enough whales, they die.
By the entire Turtle Rock Studios team to deliver a brand new best-in-class zombie shooter. Back 4 Blood was a first-person cooperative zombie shooter that played over the course of 6 different acts, or 4 at launch. Each act contains different missions and story content throughout it, and you can find special weapons and unlocks hidden throughout the maps. Not that much different than Left 4 Dead in a sense. Players must choose one of the 8 unique cleaners and work together in groups of 4 or play
early online Redditors. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Did I mention that you can't play the game offline? Not only does Back 4 Blood have the Novo boys, it actually can't be played offline with bots. And while some of you might be saying
Weird,
that it's a
bro.
cooperative game, why would you play with bots? Well, contrary to popular belief, this was actually a very common way that people played Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
Back
because
4
it was
Blood not
hard.
having it would greatly harm the player base, just like Halo not having it harmed their player base. IGN, who scored the title an 8 out of 10, would state that between its stellar card augmentations, excellent campaign, and jovial tone that creeps into every facet of its design.
What the fuck, IGN? Are you high?
Genre, which I disagree with heavily. Well, at least the
They got
jovial
paid
parts.
money, bro.
Is the game jovial and connected in all of these parts? Well, yes. But that doesn't really match the whole horror theme of the game and the whole zombies and the gore. And it doesn't help build the atmosphere. But more on that later. GameSpot was slightly less positive, but would still rate the game positively with a 7 out of 10 score. They made a point to say that Back 4 Blood felt like a worthy successor to Left 4 Dead.
What?
And enjoyed the chaotic combat. They, like IGN, would also laud the card system. Overall, on aggregate review website Metacritic, Back 4 Blood would score a 77 out of 100.
This is why bro, I don't like trust Metacritic in that way, but I trust it way more as a resource than any game reviewer anymore, because like, look at this shit, bro. Like, yes, they get like review dumped and stuff like that, but like, the game is not good.
100 from 46 different critics. Though, as I have always done on the series when it's present, I must acknowledge that there was a strong divide between the critics and the players regarding Back 4 Blood. Players on most websites were rating the game at around a 50% rating, which was a whole 2 letter grades worse than the critics. Critics are rather positive about Back 4 Blood, and nearly none of them were talking about the game's serious and apparent issues. For example, the performance in the game was very poor and would lead to a number of bugs and poor gaming experiences that have been documented in various YouTube videos. Critics also didn't acknowledge the
We had to
general
reset a
elephant in
couple
the room that
maps,
we hinted at
even
in
at
my
like
experience in open
playing a
beta.
couple times.
That's the lack of content in Back 4 Blood. The game felt clearly like a game as a service, and I mean that in the bad not finished but trying to sell future content sort of way. Even with the Game Pass buffer, players on Steam and other platforms were complaining about a severe lack of content in Back 4 Blood. It wasn't just because the acts were rather short and lacked replayability, which was kind of a cardinal sin for a replayable cooperative shooter. It was because TRS wouldn't be including player-made content. Yeah, that's right. All of that invoking the Left 4 Dead name, and they wouldn't even be including mods which help make Left 4 Dead arguably one of the most famous games ever. Mods in Left 4 Dead are everything from balancing to skins and overhauls. Not having mods would both cripple replayability, community support, and the game's longevity in the case of Back 4 Blood. I mention it in this segment regarding a lack of content because sometimes players and player-generated content can bridge that gap. Just ask ZeniMax. Without it though, now players would be inevitably waiting for new content to come, and most likely having to pay for it.
Kind of
Back
insane,
4
bro.
Blood, the game as a service it was, would receive its first expansion, paid expansion, I might add, April 12,
Fuck,
2022.
bro. I
New
didn't even know
much-needed
about that.
Content was introduced, including new Ridden Hives, 2 new Cleaners, 3 new Warped Ridden, new skins, and new cards. Hives were a sort of mini-dungeon and were a fun addition to Back 4 Blood, but like the generic name sort of implies, the expansion wasn't really anything to write home about. Tunnels of Terror was a good update, but a paid expansion? That seemed like a bit of a stretch. Players were suggesting that it should have been a part of the base game anyway, but it was cut up to release separately and then line some pockets. Nothing new or expansion level enough was added with Tunnels of Terror, which set a poor precedent going forward. To make matters worse, Turtle Rock Studios would sell an annual pass meant to account for the new DLCs at a separate price for players who
That's
didn't pre-order.
insane, bro.
The problem is that for those that did pre-order, they're basically paying for more and got less in the end because at launch, the DLC was supposed to be available, and it wasn't. Which was already a sin in itself, right? Day 1 DLC? Ew. But the annual pass was a bit of a slap in the face for those who were early adopters. It's
crazy,
They
bro.
got nothing to show for it. Turtle Rock Studios would
It
follow
should
their
be
tradition
illegal.
with another, Children of the Worm. August
Day 1 DLC should be like, it should just be illegal, because like, I don't understand how you could suggest that people pay more for something that you're working on while you're working on the original game. Like, you're either lowering the quality of the game that you're releasing, or you're just like cheating people out of like a good content by releasing it early. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you put like effort into it, I understand paying for it, but day 1 stuff doesn't make any sense to me.
As a number of new items, cards, and skins. While the story content edition and new Cleaner Dan were welcomed additions, they weren't very hearty meals, and players were yet again complaining about the expansion being light on the bones. While the original story of the game wasn't particularly liked by the players, as the disjointed themes and characters made the story feel really out of place, a 6-mission paid DLC, no matter how you sliced it, was a meager offering. The assumptions of content being sliced up and packaged for post-launch were seeming more and more realistic. Due to selling a DLC season pass, TRS only needed to sell one more expansion to complete their yearly content. Their willingness to continue to make content then would likely depend on their successes selling the new DLC.
Yeah.
How where things get a bit weird is with the final expansion. Released August 30th, 2022. Now I say weird because, well, it was actually a good expansion, and it would be received well. It would add a new 5-map act that would feature arguably the most diverse locale and environments yet. New cleaners that were very loved and enjoyed, new items, weapons, cards, and more skins were also added to the game. Besides another super generic, vaguely horror genre name, River of Blood was another paid expansion for players eager for new content. So even though it was positively received, it made playing Back 4 Blood on anything not Game Pass an expensive venture. While this makes TRS money in the short term, it's not the best strategy for attracting a long-term audience. After players would exhaust their funds to buy the first expansion, they likely wouldn't buy any more and play the game anymore. It also spurs fans of your game and your company when it seems like you're completely willing to monetize on an unfinished game on purpose. Remember, the game was delayed as well. Community morale is already low for your company due to your previous failures and abandonment with a similar approach in Evolve. Well, Back 4 Blood's failure could spell disaster for TRS's prospects going forward, as their reputation would be heavily damaged, repeating the same thing again. There are comments on the reviews of Back 4 Blood that even state this obviously, saying that you shouldn't support TRS because they abandon their games. Now, whether this is because their contracts are up, and they can no longer and have to work on those games, or they're just moving on to their next projects, it wasn't a good look for the company whatever the reasons were, especially one that repeatedly, even 2 games later, was still trying to loosely cash in on the success of a game that came out over a decade ago. Proving the dissenters and spurned evil.
It is strange that there hasn't been another Left 4 Dead.
Back 4 Blood would reportedly end
Is there one
February
coming
2nd,
out?
2023. Turtle Studios is actually pretty small for a studio making AAA games. We don't have enough folks to continue to work on Back 4 Blood content while we spin another game. Yes, another game. I found the press release to be quite shocking, as TRS seems to be literally confirming what some of the players' concerns of them were as a company.
Open
The problem is
world.
that they're not even seeing it as a problem. Now I get that
Spooky.
companies and, well, all companies have to make money, and they have a limited amount of workforce.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
company has to position those to work efficiently. But TRS had now abandoned 2 of their multiplayer shooters with this logic, which seemed really
It's just
poor
crazy how
form,
quickly
especially for a
Evolve's like
multiplayer
servers and
development.
everything died.
It seemed like they basically had no accountability after just 1 year into their game's launch. And while there's a legion,
Which is super interesting, right?
Fans
Because
who are
like,
defending-
because it's basically the same similar concept to like Dead by Daylight, and that thing blew the fuck up. So it seems crazy to me that they couldn't get there. Like I understand why it's super difficult, but it's like, man, that shit went crazy. They were close.
Stating, well, it's not an MMO, it's not supposed to go on forever. But sure, it's supposed to go on long enough to reach a form of quality though, right? Well, at least most people would kind of expect that. And go long enough to stand up to the reputation that they're trying to invoke, at least in some fraction, right? Defending the fact that corporations design business models around games as a service and then giving up support on them after the season pass expires doesn't make you virtuous or helpful in any discussion except bootlicking. It's resulting in worse games too, and defending it is aiding in that outcome, so please stop. Especially when,
Good
as I
Slayer
see,
just
the only
being
person who
based.
keeps repeating this ad nauseum, the game is always online, which means
Yeah.
it can die, damn it. Yes, we've already seen this multiple times. Multiple single-player games that we've even featured on this series that were online only died, just like Back 4 Blood could.
Isn't it crazy how Blizzard released Diablo 4 as online?
I'd be okay with the game not ever having reached its expectations.
Honestly, I know I talked about this before, but honestly, that shit is like the craziest thing for people who like have not played games in a long time. Like they just don't understand how that shit works. They're like, I can just play it offline, right?
A game that maximized how much money it made and will have nothing to show for it long term when it could eventually die and become unplayable too. It's not like Turtle Rock Studios hasn't done that before too. In
Yeah.
fact, after Back 4 Blood was announced, launched, and development was ended, it was dwarfed on Steam by Left 4 Dead. I'm talking like 20x the population dwarfed. Now, if you're wondering why, besides just being a legendary game and having quite the name recognition, in the next section I will cover in detail why Back 4 Blood wasn't Left 4 Dead, and how the comparisons ultimately proved to be toxic and even fatal, and how a game nearly 15 years old is still kicking ass. We've avoided the comparisons as much as possible, but sorry detectives, TRS brought this upon themselves. Nobody else was screaming from the creators of Left 4 Dead and placing that pressure on them until they publicly did it themselves, when they announced the game out of the gate. So that pressure might be part of what cooked them in the end, and I'm going to break down why the comparisons were far less helpful than TRS expected. The Crobcat video I referenced shows that the 200 plus developers that worked on Left 4 Dead, between Valve and Turtle Rock Studios, only 6 of them would go on to work for Back 4 Blood. So this means that not only is it not the same original team, it would be hard to capture the original magic when you're lacking so many of the same key characters. The other aspect rarely acknowledged in the Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead discussions is the engines. Now I'm not going to sit here and say that Back 4 Blood's engine, which is the Unreal Engine.
Man, another game studio should just take the Evolve idea and do it again and just do it better. Like, what if it wasn't like esports focused and was just a fun game?
4 is not a quality engine. However, the argument that I'm going to make is that the Source engine was just better suited, especially in this particular type of game, and it outperformed it. It doesn't take long to notice that either. For starters, Left 4 Dead has positional damage, ragdoll effects, accounting for very live and real-feeling zombies that you can blow all over your screen to smithereens. The lip syncing, as common with the Source engine, is also just fantastic and helps contribute to the immersion overall. Back 4 Blood by comparison feels like it's definitely done on a high-end engine, but it lacks much of that same detail and special aspects that set Left 4 Dead and Source engine apart. So the discussion and debate of the two games is very much one about engines, and which one performed better for the task. And in this case, the Source engine just performed better. It's not always just the engine that's the culprit, though. In fact, that's very rarely the case. I mean, it's just a tool, right? The other thing that feels quite apparent, though, when playing Back 4 Blood versus the legendary Left 4 Dead is just a lack of soul. Soul in the context of a video game is the little things that you notice when exploring the world, like the survivor notes in Left 4 Dead and the survivor rooms. Souls are zombies having their own unique identities and outfits, like the witch in Left 4 Dead, or like the construction zombie. You get the idea. Soul in this context is going above and beyond and making the little things count. They might not individually wow anybody, but when combined together help round out a game. Back 4 Blood had a severe lack of soul in these sort of moments that could be felt from anything from the main story to the characters you played at to even the overall dialogue and narrative of the game. The cleaners, for example, are incredibly generic and lacking in personalities. They just feel like superheroes thrust into a zombie game and really good at killing zombies. Take Holly, for example. Let's compare her to Zoe from Left 4 Dead 2. Holly's whole gimmick is being a tough girl that has a bat and stuff. Okay, well, to be fair, her bio says that her parents died, and she has a never-say-die attitude. Wait, what? Why does she look so happy and smug for someone who's lost their parents? As somebody who lost my parents, you shouldn't look that way. Compare this to Zoe and you have a world of difference and nuance. Zoe is a true survivor, not this weird professional zombie slayer hot chick thing that TRS came up with, meaning she was thrust into the zombie situation against her will and also lost her family. The difference is that you can see that and hear that in Zoe and her demeanor, and know she's not just some scared heroine the majority of the time, she does plenty of zombie slaying. She undergoes this personal journey and then some, having to kill her own father to prevent him from turning. And when you encounter her in the later DLC, she's a changed character. She's much harder, much tougher, and even scarier. Cleaners, on the other hand, have no sort of journey. They're not relatable. They feel weird already because they're basically professional.
So like cohesive as well.
Zombie situation, which feels less survival and more like an action game. But also, why are the Cleaners even doing this? Why are they all working together with such random backgrounds if they're not struggling to survive in the first place? And don't get me started again on how boring and lifeless the Ridden are. They lack personality, originality, and worse, just fun in terms of mechanics. Most are just reskins of each other, which is already annoying, but where's the personality? Where's something like the smoker coughing from above as it dangles survivors to their death? Or the belly bumbling boomer? Ooh, none of their personality was to be found in Back 4 Blood. Everyone's personality was just a scary zombie guy. I mean, it's telling that I can actually recount each of the zombie sounds from Left 4 Dead off the top of my head. Smoker. Hunter. Tank. And then there's some other DLC zombies that I kind of forgot. But you get the idea. These are iconic and memorable, and even though I haven't played Left 4 Dead in years at this point, I still remember them. I played Back 4 Blood this year and I don't even remember the zombies.
Yeah, it's so true.
Most of them seem like basically poor copycats of Left 4 Dead zombies. And that's just a shame. The cleaners feeling out of place in Back 4 Blood, though, leads into my final point about the comparison between the two games. Probably the most damning one, too. In Left 4 Dead, you play as a survivor. You're trying to survive by making it from checkpoint to checkpoint. That's not just felt in the characters you play as, it's seen in the world that you discover and felt in the design of the game itself. Left 4 Dead is a cinematic horror experience. The developers wanted the game to feel like playing a horror movie. It being divided into different campaigns and how the campaigns are even showcased really feels that way too. Sure, there's plenty of zombie killing in action in Left 4 Dead, but it feels more like a consequence of you trying to survive as a survivor versus you just being some zombie killing maniac. When playing through Back 4 Blood, it very clearly feels like a game that wants to look and feel cool and scary by fans, but it doesn't feel scary when you play the game, because the game doesn't even treat itself like a horror game. It's just an action shooter with zombies in it. And the written encounters feel more like a nuisance than a cinematic experience like the Infected did in Left 4 Dead. That's because they're just obstacles in your way, and less of something that serves as a serious threat you must survive, even thematically. In Back 4 Blood, you're playing as the winners, basically, and the game feels far more tame because of that. Writing and the story issues aside, Back 4 Blood struggles to escape the shadow of its far more cinematic and epic older brother, Left 4 Dead. For me, Back 4 Blood feels like a shooter with zombies and not a zombie shooter. The detective music is playing, which means it's time to gather up all of the clues and put this case to bed. What went wrong with Back 4 Blood? Well, it was over-monetized and understuffed. No mod support. Poor performance and bugs. It launched incomplete and then they charged for the rest of the content. It just had a lack of soul. It must be played with friends online. It had a lackluster PvP mode in Written. I really wanted Back 4 Blood to be a good game. And I really felt like with Evolve, Turtle Rock Studios at the very least showed that they had the potential again to make a fun multiplayer shooter experience.
They released the other one too, right?
First-person zombie shooter that relied on prior name recognition and failed to eclipse that same name in expectation or even get close. Back 4 Blood won't just have potentially the legacy of being the sort of forgotten Left 4 Dead spiritual successor, it could even die, have the server shut down, and never be playable again. Which doesn't sound like something you should ever be saying with a cooperative zombie shooter. But TRS is already fast and hard at work on their next title, with next to no details released concerning such. While I was inclined to give them another chance after the faltering of Evolve, coming off yet another failure in Back 4 Blood at an even larger scale, I don't know how excited I am for their next title. Making fun, flawed games isn't a crime, nor even a reprehensible thing, but abandoning your multiplayer games merely years after launch doesn't buy future faith in your products. Just saying. Thanks for watching.
My friend, the time has come to put an end to this meaningless conflict.
But I was looking at Redfall and I was like, isn't Redfall like the same thing again? And it had like the same fucking issues, but I guess not. Different. It's open world. What does it even mean though anymore? Like, you Genesis. Huh. Motor City Online. Is this like the auto assault ammo? Car and MMO RPG.
An world full of muscle cars and hot rods like no other, with a bustling active supply and demand economy. If you have no idea what I'm describing, well, you came to the right place. Motor City Online wasn't known by many, but for those that did know it, it was loved and remembered for the brief time it was live. The company who developed the game alongside publisher EA was also behind the popular early 2000 racing series Need for Speed. Well, all but the original just about, including the very popular Need for Speed High Stakes and Hot Pursuit. EA Seattle would go on to launch Motor City Online October 31st, 2001, but after just a mere 2 years, the game would be shut down alongside the company behind it. What happened? Why did Motor City Online, a unique one-of-a-kind online racing RPG, fail to stay alive and even keep EA Seattle alive? We will
Racing
uncover that and
RPG.
more while progressing through a timeline of events
I
pre
love
and
it.
post-production of the game, while filing away any clues and pieces of evidence that we can use for our final deduction at the very end of the video. Pick one of the 60 cars, customize it with over 2,000 components, and then race it on over 24 different tracks in this death of a game, Motor City Online. The
Our game go
begins with a
first.
little known at the time video game studio Manley and Associates. Before their tenure and major success at EA Seattle, Manley and Associates was an even older video game developer founded back in 1982. After a desire to produce more ambitious games, they would be acquired by EA in 1996 to help with publishing, especially, reportedly. EA Seattle would strike success after landing the very popular newly minted driving game, the Need for Speed series. After making various sequels, EA Seattle would create Need for Speed High Stakes in March of 1999. Need for Speed High Stakes would reach some good success, being scored an 86 out of 100 on aggregate review website Metacritic, and being quite loved and enjoyed for the game's graphic fidelity, the depth of the game, and the soundtrack. The reason I'm specifically honing in on High Stakes is because, well, it's going to become relevant later on to the story of Motor City Online. That's because it's going to serve as the base bones, if you will, for what EA Seattle would then take and attempt to create an online title with. But before it was known as Motor City Online, it was actually known as Need for Speed Motor City. This can be seen in early promotional material, as in January of 2000. EA Seattle was referring to their newly announced online racing game as Need for Speed Motor City. The name would imply some sort of affiliation to motor cars or muscle-like cars, but in the Need for Speed universe. But for whatever reason, perhaps a lack of streetcar focus, EA Seattle would rebrand the game and it would go on to be known further as pre- and post-production Motor City Online, or MCO. EA Seattle taking the base mechanics from an already successful racing game and launching an online variant of it was actually smart. They already had a basis to build on and one that people already knew was proper quality. And it's not totally unlike early online RPGs, which were oftentimes single-player game adaptations. Now known as Motor City Online, the game would launch October 31st, 2001. Motor City Online would cost a full box price and a $10 monthly charge to pay for online updates and the capabilities. Motor City Online at launch would dwarf many single-player games in terms of sheer options and customization, which was pretty impressive. For starters, there were over 60 muscle and hot rod style vehicles that you could customize with over 2,000 semi-realistic components and race on over 24 tracks. And with the bones of Need for Speed High Stakes, the racing is quite quality, even in the modern times. It has realistic shifting combined with a realistic presentation and a customization system. Although Motor City Online was absolutely
There's the RPG
full of
aspect
things to
of
do
it.
for a standard racing game, there was a higher standard being placed on it due to it being a multiplayer racing title. On aggregate review website Metacritic, the game would only garner a 73 out of 100 from 12 different critical reviews. I think Motor City Online was worthy of being rated higher personally, but the various reviews done would detail why the game, despite being fun and a positive experience for some, was not being seen as a great game. Sometimes being one of a kind is also kind of a bad thing. Motor City Online was a racing game, but it was an online racing game, but it also had a supply and demand auction house, kind of like a MMO or something, where you could buy components and even new vehicles. Borrowing from classic online RPGs, MCO would also allow you to grind and
Wild.
make money until you could buy better and more powerful vehicles. Here's how it works. There are 4 major classes of races: street, circuit, time trials, and drag races. In any of them, you can choose an open race where you can drive your own car, a sponsored race where you choose from predetermined selections of common vehicles, or club race against another team, both driving your own cars. At the time, and still largely to date, no other racing game had even attempted such a thing, where racing wasn't the only activity and the only way to make money now. You could also go to places like Roxy's Diner and Roadkill Cafe, though you could pretty much only use these places as chat rooms. GameSpot would score the title a 7.6 out of 10.
It's so
They
interesting,
did
I
the
guess,
poor
like-
UI, non-intuitive gameplay scheme and latency issues and hit or miss economy mechanics would keep the game from being a great racing game. Although GameSpot
When I
would
get to
acknowledge
add
a
the
reboot
sword.
bug and a few other not-so-working aspects of MCO, they would score the game an impressive 88 out of 100, stating that overall MCO is a very stable and fun, massive multiplayer online game. Now, all of this being said, the game was requiring a $10 monthly fee on top of
Ah.
this. This was going to make the reviews harder to take at full value, like I always talk about with MMOs just in general. Would the outlets and players still feel the same after a few months of plays and a few months of those monthly charges? Would they keep having that same desire to want to play the game as feverishly as they were at launch? Well, critics were split on Motor City Online, but what did the
Online
players think of the
subscription.
game? And what was good and memorable about MCO besides just some of its systems? Well, Motor City Online had really good base driving mechanics and sheer just options. The issues with the game come from the fact that it's felt and played as a multiplayer online racing game. Type of game that kind of didn't really even exist at the time. MCO, as I've mentioned before, wasn't quite a full MMO, but it was pretty close to it. It had an auction house, economy, friends list, and clans. And though the world was limited
Our
to just
clans,
racing
oh my
champions, there
god.
was a world in a sense. There was even 4 different servers to choose from. So while nothing was massive, it was online and persistent and had long-term progression, qualifying as an MMORPG or at least an online RPG. These parts were exciting and unique, especially for the time, but they were also driving friction into the player base and making the game harder to enjoy for core racing fans. While MMO and online RPG fans are quite used to grinding for long hours to be able to get a new piece of armor or weapon, and maybe even doing non-combat or main gameplay things in order to raise those funds, well, racing fans expect to race the majority of the game to make money, and to play the majority of the game by racing. And they expect the unlocks to come much quicker and specialized for their specific cars. Motor City Online attempting this real supply and demand economy for the car components was cool and impressive, but it was also problematic because it was making the game more focused on the economy than the actual racing. That's because you could make money from playing just the market. You didn't even have to race necessarily. And sure, you could make money from racing and challenges and stuff like that, but again, you could
That's so funny that they were like doing the same thing they do in WoW, like just like making the money through the auction house.
So they weren't really
That's pretty good, honestly.
On top of that, whenever players weren't able to join a street race, AIs would take their place, and it was an entry fee based game type, which meant that AI are essentially taking your money.
Oh.
Most players would just end up playing circuit races, which didn't need players to function, but they would only make you a meager amount of cash. Drag races were supposed to be the equalizer to all of this, but without many restrictions in them, well, it's kind of hard to know what kind of cars you're going to be up against, right? And who you could potentially lose cash to. Some of the higher end cars like the Cobra, the GTO, or the Mustang would range from 200,000 to 2 million. In a typical online RPG, this isn't really unheard of. In fact, I know of players that were able to have millions while playing MCO. But for racing,
where's the raid boss that drops the GTO though? That's what I'm asking. Like, do I find a truck?
Because they just had no familiarity with it. To make matters worse, there were latency issues where sometimes it would seem like someone would win, and then suddenly it would turn out that they wouldn't. So simply put, MCO was a quality game, but it was a hard to access one with a few pointy edges. Nothing fixes or an overhaul couldn't solve, however. There was enough there to work with, in my opinion. But EA wouldn't give the game very long to grow or work on any of these issues. Just 1 year later, there were major news that the studio behind the game, EA Seattle, would be shut down, and transferring only about a third of their studio team to the Vancouver studio of EA. According to the EA spokesman, a large reason for the shutdown was the size of Manley & Associates. They were the smallest of the newly acquired companies, and they wanted to consolidate their studios and developers more. This was done right after the release of another racing game for the studio, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, which according to EA's logic was fair because it was at the end of development and they were providing severance packages. But just like that, the studio behind Motor City Online and many other racing games was gone. One of the earlier victims to Electronic Arts, and not the last. Motor City Online would close August 30th, 2003, reportedly for EA to focus on their other online game for the time, The Sims Online, which would have its own rocky history and only last a few more years after. Motor City Online being shuttered so quickly was tragic, as it never got the proper life cycle or even chance for one in the first place. But when the company themselves was shuttered, it was always going to be a hard prospect to keep the game alive. Unless MCO was just crushing,
Forgot about The
they
Sims
were always
Online.
going to be the first in the crosshairs.
Fucking
Especially because
crazy.
it was technically a new IP, whereas the Sims game, well, gave EA most of their popularity besides the sports games, which is unfortunate, but an obvious decision for the suits and those at EA. Although MC didn't live in the last 2 years of live status, it was able.
The funny story about The Sims. I've unironically sold at least 2 high-powered gaming laptops to women who just legitimately wanted to play The Sims, and that was it. It is insane that it's not a fucking joke. It's a real thing. They're just like, I want this gaming computer, and the games I want to play are The Sims, and it's insane to me. And you're like trying to like recommend them something cheaper. They're like, no, I want to pay this much money. It's fucking wild, bro.
To garner a cult following during the time it was online. So much.
That's it. I saw a guy at a PC, like a laptop today, and he wanted one that was more expensive than the one on display. I'm trying to recommend him the display one because like it was $600 less, and it's technically better. The only benefit of the more expensive one was that it had a terabyte SSD versus like half as much. And then he went with the more expensive one anyway because we just had it in stock. I didn't have to wait 2 days. I was like, okay. Just wild,
players
dude.
were able to get their hands on an offline version of Motor City Online, because apparently it existed as a debug mode within the game all along. MCO might be playable in some fashion, which is more than many other dead games on this series can say, but not being able to play the game online is a shame when the core of it was very much built for that. And not just in the way of the online multiplayer, but the economy and how the unlocks worked to a large degree, including how you made money, which meant that playing it offline wasn't going to give you access to that. But even then, you can still certainly...
What's like the equivalent of this game is like dancing on a mailbox. Like, do I get into like Rosie's Cafe and I'm like in the chat room spamming like, we'll dance for $5?
Feel and see the quality of the game.
Real girl.
LGR covered the game more recently and showcased the quality therein. MCO
Oh my
feels
God.
like even in 2023, a good quality classic and, well, forgotten Need for Speed game. Which is either something to say about Hot Pursuit or MCO in general having that level of longevity even though it didn't last very long. Classic racing games are really good, and that's not...
I guarantee people ERP in this game. Like, text chat, just like, oh yeah, baby.
a surprise for many racing game fans, including those
People
watching.
are fucking into
MCO
cars,
is
bro.
The unknown classic racing game for most, being one that was based pretty much only online, which was unheard of at the time. It's hard to deny that MCO would likely lead to the inspiration for many more online racing games that would come like The Crew, Need for Speed World, and more. It was unknown to the public eye for many years, but the developers were well aware of the pioneer status that the game held. I do this for a living, sure. But I also do it because I have a personal obligation to try and tell as many stories about online games as I can because, well, I kind of owe them my life. Whichever kind of story that ends up being, big or small, as long as it's an interesting case, I'm going to cover it. And I haven't seen another game like Motor City Online, especially for how early it came out. And
Kinda
it
crazy.
deserves its pioneer status, and its story told. The detective music is playing, which means that we have obtained enough clues and evidence to solve the case at hand. Why did Motor City Online die so quickly? No player avatar. You're kind of just playing as a car that you choose from. Little community aspects besides trading in the social rooms. Electronic Arts pulled the plug for Sims Online. It was expensive. It required market play versus racing. The parent company was shuttered. MCO was ahead of its time. I hope you detectives have enjoyed this trip down memory lane, or for most, a completely new story about a little-known online racing game I felt worth mentioning. And I welcome the comments because yes, this
Ouija,
does open up the door to
hi.
other racing online games
Hello.
like The Crew and Need for Speed World.
How's
and
work,
more.
gamer?
Tell me which ones in the comments. And then stay tuned for more online racing games or more games to make their way onto the Death of a Game series. For now, though, we have to go. And I need
Good
to catch a slice of pizza.
pokey.
Thanks for watching.
Just chilling, watching some videos while I work on some stuffs. Oh my god. I still can't believe this, that fucking, oh my god. I can't believe people got tricked by Blizzard again, bro. Shit's crazy. Man, you're gay? Yes. That is the answer to that question. Yes. Very gay. I like men.
Every now and then I reach deep into the case files and pull out a
Fuckers.
I know full well that my viewers might not be familiar with. The business part of me knows that this is probably not the best play, but as much as I do YouTube for a living, I also do it for a deep love of the games and the genres that I cover. That means that I'm most motivated to cover titles that have personal meanings to me, are significant titles in history, or have very interesting stories. Lord was very much all of that for me.
I really vibe with Nerd Slayer because like a lot of these MMOs that like I used to like watch trailers for and get super hyped for, and then I would play for like a week and be like, man, this is a waste of $15. Oh.
Codemaster teaming up with NHN Entertainment and making Archlord back in 2006 was both a total random occurrence and a fortuitous chance for me to play a rather unique Korean MMO. I knew Codemasters from Operation Flashpoint games, so jumping in to play an online MMO by them was
some quality
a unique experience certainly. But what made Archlord unique was the fact that you could play as the Archlord, one per server, reigning over your server for a full month, something all players sought after. Despite living for a number of years long enough to call it a successful run, Archlord wouldn't last past that, and even in their live years, despite being an interesting title, didn't quite have the overwhelming amount of success, especially in the West. On this episode of Death of a Game, I will detail why that is, including navigating the game's timeline to document and explain the largest contributing factors to the game's death. Only one can become the Archlord detective, so pick a faction and let's get to it.
Oh.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is returning to the channel with yet another. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, just use the link in my description or scan my QR code on screen to get insane bonuses. We're talking an epic champion, knight errant, and other useful things too. Once you're in and you're crushing your enemies,
I don't understand, bro.
Nerd Slayer. And if you're fast enough, you can join my clan. So hit my link in the description, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Thank you again for Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring.
Do you hear that? If you're fast enough.
The new series of Call of the Arbiter. Let's get back to the mystery.
Shoutouts to Raid.
With the turn of the century, we have popularized both the term MMORPG and the genre itself, as an evolved form or grander scale, if you will, of graphical muds to an extent. With this rise, we have companies with no online RPG history suddenly catching the bug and finding their way into the picture. Some are even more unlikely than others. Like sure, people expected the big corporations like EA, Sony, and Microsoft to join in and contribute, but I don't think people saw Codemasters joining the fray coming. Codemasters was known for the Operation Flashpoint series, a Million Racing Games series, and the Overlord series, and way more really. But in the early 2000s, they expressed interest in teaming up with
Ipcar, hi! Hi.
Known for their web game portal and browser games, to bring a launch to the Western market. Archlord launched in Korea March 2005, and I don't have much information available concerning how the game did, or its Korean reception, but based on the sources that I do have, it seems that Archlord was large enough in Korea to warrant more focus from the NHN team, as quite typical with Korean titles that launch Western counterparts. And certainly, as aforementioned, large and successful enough to warrant a Western launch, which wouldn't happen without some level of success. Archlord launched in the US October 3rd, 2006, and the EU on the 6th. Although I would enjoy my time playing the game, it wouldn't be at launch. At launch, Archlord was a subscription-based MMORPG, putting it up against the likes of WoW, Lord of the Rings Online, Ultima Online, and more. This puts a heavy barrier to entry for most players, especially with the rise of free-to-play. GameSpot, who reviewed the game and admitted
2.7
knowledge concerning such, was scathing in their analysis, granting Archlord a 2.7 out of 10, citing blurry graphics, lackluster audio, shallow questing and crafting, and finally PvP, the crowning jewel of the game.
Which game stream when?
Wild to reach. Archlord was, even as a fan of the game, essentially a standard fare, especially in more modern times, Korean grind 'em up.
Honestly, I would do one soon. It's just finding a good time for it. I have like stuff I want to do in RuneScape, but it's just like I need to like really do some more research. What do I want to do again? I had some ideas. Wear a bulge under the blanket. I'm good on. What you doing? I'm watching videos and working on stuff. Hi. How do you talk? With my mouth. It's impressive, I know. Prove it, bro. Garbage. Fuck you. Garage, I was playing RuneScape like 2-3 weeks ago, like off stream. It's just like a fucking time thing. I don't have time. I love the game, bro. Oh, I remember the bulb.
RPG. You killed monsters, leveled and progressed your character, and then rinse and repeat until you got the good stuff. Well, on the surface, and for the majority of the PvE
Look, you subscribe to the $100 tier on Patreon. I'll consider sending you a picture.
experience.
No.
At the core of
No.
AOL and behind the immense grind was the 3-faction system and the PvP combat. Archlord arguably created the blueprint for
Bet.
PvP titles. There were 3 keeps, and between the
I
3
took
guilds,
pictures the other day.
each of them there would be a set title for who would rule the server.
Fuck
AKA
reveal.
become
It ain't that impressive. It's cute
What
though.
Archlord is unique and still hasn't been replicated today was very much this Archlord mechanic, which was essentially the road to becoming a the winning guild leader would become the Archlord, which would grant you access to controlling the weather, ability.
This is like an off topic. I've never can't get tutorial how to talk, open mouth, spill out garbage. Off topic, I've never had complaints, but like I've seen some fucking crazy shit, bro.
Ability to influence the economy of the game, and you also got to fly around on a giant dragon with expert bodyguards at your disposal. Now, if it sounds like it just describes some crazy game in an anime or something, no, seriously. This was Archlord back in 2006, where it took almost no risk anywhere else.
Then again, I guess if you're born with a massive cock, the best thing to do is move to porn. So I guess.
Where things weren't paying off is like GameSpot said, and was absolutely right
anyway.
about, was the journey to that point. Not only was Archlord grindy, the poor, boring, repetitive questing and less than
Oh, you know, yeah.
contributed to an even more boring leveling experience. Many of the reviews are well aware that the game gets better at the higher levels, because, well, they played
True.
the beta with a higher level account. But without that to circumvent this, now players were unfortunately given a quite lackluster experience.
Are you erasing
compared
3D
to
render
the top
compilation?
Western MMOs for the
Maybe.
time. Archlord
I've seen
ran
some
into
of
the problem
those.
that most Korean MMOs also ran into, is that they weren't properly ported or adapted to a different market. and
That's
this
so
is the
true.
Western market, which is often related to the XP rates needed to grind, are simply just too high for a market that was going to want to rush to the PvP anyway. It's one thing to have grind, but when you are killing blobs and gnolls for the 100th time without any world narrative to speak of, well, people are just going to get bored and unable to persevere to even get to the good stuff, so to say.
True.
Archlord's manhwa would be released November 2006 to follow up on the release of Archlord itself. And now I've seen and read most anime.
There you go,
and
Grib.
stuff.
Manhwa.
Not only have I not read this particular piece, I can't find many people that have, and if they have, they give me quite lukewarm responses. That being said, it wasn't poorly received necessarily, it just wasn't an RO anime, or the Persona anime, if you know what I mean. Oh yeah, and this guy in particular seems to really hate it. Archlord, after faltering due to its subscription status and poor critical reception, would go free to play December 5th, 2006, marking the first time I and many others got to play the game. Free to play was pretty much brand new in the West, so you can't fault Codemasters for not launching with it. But credit must be given to them for shifting to free to play later on to keep Archlord alive just 2 months after launch.
Yeah, I see something
Free-to-play was where
similar.
Archlord kind of belonged, not only because it was a Korean MMO, but because it was clearly designed to satisfy long-term
I think the only
play
one
with
like
not
Korean
offering
MMO I
any
played like a
story
lot
or
of was like
theme-park
Lineage
content.
2.
This is usually a cardinal sin for subscription-based MMOs, especially for non-sandbox ones. Archlord was accessible for poor kids like myself, so I jumped right in at the thought of not having to pay a fee to play the game. I can't deny the critical reception regarding the grind and how slow it was pretty accurate. However, I was able to persist into the 20s and got to see a mere fraction of what the game had to offer. Archlord does have blurry graphics, they were right about that. Maybe this was an effort to save processing power with a bunch of characters on screen, or just utilizing the RenderWare engine, which was an engine not typically known for MMOs. Though they feature quite nice character models, especially for the time. The leveling experience can be summed up as dull and repetitive, but it was one of the first Korean MMOs that I have played, which made it less impactful negatively for me. There's still a certain charm to Archlord too, whether it be the need to work together, the shared sense of time investment, or naturally, of course, the whole path to becoming an Archlord and working with your faction. Everyone has a game that they like, though.
Explain
Despite
this
small
Archlord
flaws,
thing.
Archlord was one of those titles for me. Archlord launched as episode 1 and received another episode sometime after launch the following year. Details on what episode 2 consisted of are kind of hard to find, but I did find this neat old trailer. Episode 3 is the second expansion in a sense, but we actually have some proper documentation concerning it and what it consists
Expand.
of. The free expansion would consist of 3 new games, 80 new class skills, and more Archlord abilities, armor sets, and zone bosses and monsters. Free expansions were a risky endeavor in the world of business, especially in the early 2000s, but perhaps there was enough faith in the player base spending more money on the cash shop and attracting new players to do such as well. Codemaster likely didn't want to tamper with what was working, which was a free-to-play Switch, but losing ways to monetize could be problematic too down the road.
Yeah.
When expansions are free, it's more likely you're going to have to deal with more predatory cash shops anyway. There's always a downside to whatever turn you take. In a shocking turn of events, Codemasters would lose the bid or not come to an agreement concerning the publishing and running Archlord in the West. Webzen, who was publishing the game in the East, would now be handling the Western publishing as well. This would require an account/character migration, and the servers would reportedly be down for a few days to compensate for this. This is problematic, as any downtime in an MMO is just gonna piss off players. And that's because these games
We're
are more
addicted.
like to these players. Archlord had really good momentum, but now with this happening, it seemed to slow them down. The transition could very much have been a business one, where Codemasters wasn't warranting NHN offloading the work to them. NHN decided to then just go with a publisher they were already working with and more familiar with and shared a local market with. Codemasters instead would go on to help publish and launch the free-to-play version of Lord of the Rings Online in 2010, which is honestly probably an upgrade. NHN would continue to pump out new episodes for Archlord, with episode 4 launching February
chair noise.
18th, 2010. With the expansion also free would be the introduction of a new in-game dungeon dubbed the Chaotic Frontier, 6 new scenarios, new armor and weapons, and new monsters and creatures. Archlord would roll on, quietly taking in the success after the launch of their 5th episode September 13th, 2010. New features would include a new battleground, a new race versus race war zone, new realm monsters and raid bosses, new collectible armor sets with unique stats, and the new character ability, the Charisma Point. Oddly enough, despite being a faction-based game,
Booted.
the sieges for the castles in Archlord were actually guild-based, so the new zone would actually be faction,
Guild Wars.
which is sort of a kind of what took you so long but graciously accepted and enjoyed nonetheless sort of thing. I literally feel like walking deja vu at this point, because I have covered yet again another Korean MMO and they, the developers, have yet again pulled an old school Korean MMO developer move, creating a sequel. Now there's nothing inherently wrong with creating a sequel, nor Korean, because MMOs can't really last forever, but the Korean way of doing these things has been a failure for sequels historically. for a number of
RuneScape
reasons that we
disagrees.
covered in the Ragnarok Online video and the Dark Eden one. With Archlord 2, it would have its closed beta in Korea October 2012, preparing it for the launch the following year. The gameplay shown wasn't terrible, but it didn't seem like a market improvement enough from the original, and the gameplay in Archlord 2 was noticeably slower, which was kind of an interesting revelation. Now, NHN might not be the only Korean developer to create a sequel early on, but they're certainly the first Korean developer who canceled their first MMO to focus solely on their second one. Shutting down their first game to focus on the second one not only seemed like a risky endeavor, it was absolutely bonkers in the context of Korean MMOs.
Jesus.
For reference, in 2023, 20-year-plus MMOs like Lineage and MapleStory are still raking in funds in their multiple first iterations, including on mobile devices. These games make more than the majority of MMOs in modern times. So to say that NHN made a blunder by shutting down their first game December 6, 2013 for favor of their sequel is a complete understatement. It was like stabbing their own child or project and ending them themselves swiftly. With the rise of
Kinda
mobile
nuts.
games globally, especially in the East, where its numbers rival all gamers combined in the West, not just mobile, NHN would express interest in following the trend with an Archlord mobile game released in 2014. The game literally looks like every other copycat mobile RPG that you have seen at this point. And no, that's not an understatement. It's indistinguishable from other mobile games minus a couple of skins. Archlord Awake might have the Archlord Monarch system and feature the player PvP, but it looks and plays just like every other mobile game.
Why are they
It's
naked,
just
bro?
a
Is
game.
that the
It's
ad?
not enough to
Surely
just
that's
have
the ad.
features of something. You also have to play and feel like that game too. Archlord 2, which launched back in 2013 in Korea, would now release a fancy CGI new trailer to commemorate their soon-to-come Western launch. Next to no details were showcased during the trailer, however. Archlord 2 would make its way to the West, September 16th, 2014, and although there was very little coverage of the game, I was able to find a few reviews. For starters, the game had taken a different approach to the class system, making it less of a class system and more of a weapon system, as it was now based on your weapon. The gameplay was also noticeably
Guild
slower
Wars.
compared to the other contemporaries of the game and even the previous Archlord. The main focus of the game was still very much the PvP and the journey to that, though. MMOs.com would state that Archlord 2 would have some trouble early on in living up to its intense PvP boasts, but absolutely dominates in in-game PvP content. There are plenty of different game modes for players to try, and the opportunity to become the server-wide Archlord is enough to keep even the least inclined PvPer to try for the honors. While NRPG would state that they enjoyed the PvP modes as well, they struggled because they were fairly inaccessible. It was a good thing in some ways for the PvP to be limited, right? To prevent players from just getting ganked incessantly. But in Archlord 2, your first PvP experience wasn't going to come until level 30 in the form of a 5v5 skirmish. And then at level 40, you could play the battlegrounds. All that race versus race PvP zones.
Goku, thank you for the follow.
All of that stuff that the game
What
was
can't you
originally
beat?
known
Tell me.
for was going to
I
be
need to learn.
in-game stuff. Sure, with more of a focus on story and questing, and the journey to this was made easier than in the previous version, but not by much. Sadly, it was like NHN didn't learn much or enough, and continued to lock the majority of the best parts of their game behind the worst parts of their game. The immense grind that most Western players, let alone Korean players, didn't want to go through.
Like one of the big reasons why Guild Wars was like such a big thing for like a lot of people is because you had your regular level character, but you could at any time make a PvP max level character and have access to like a heap of PvP stuff, like just straight out of the bat. So you could like play the PvP modes like right away, even though leveling Guild Wars wasn't like crazy difficult or anything like that, and it got like a lot easier throughout the years. If you didn't want like an ultra customizable, like just like a semi customizable character for PvP, you could like just jump in and play randos and have like fun. But if you wanted to like make it ultra specific for what you wanted to build, you'd have to like make a character and level them up properly and like gear them up and stuff. But it was like, it's kind of like playing like Showdown versus playing like proper Pokemon. Get Precious. Hi, Cole.
The Archlord Korean server would finally fall January 14th, 2014, marking an 8-year run in the end commercially and officially for Archlord. Whether this was success-based or based on the desired focus on the sequel, just like with Codemasters, would remain to be seen. But
Dorito, thank you for the follow.
Create more of a push towards private servers globally for the game. The fan base is just unwilling to let their favorite games die. Archlord 2 would launch their expansion, Eternal Strife, alongside a new server as well, 2 new races, which would be introduced too, but instead of the game being a 4-race game or even a 3-race one, they would just be combined to make it just a 2-race game. No, don't get me wrong, I like adding new races with new starting zones. Placing them in the same faction just seemed lazy and went against the spirit of what Archlord even was. NHN followed that up with another update July 28th, 2015, dubbed Dark Stronghold, after the new Hell mode dungeon that would be added to the game. The confusing thing about Archlord 2 was that the PvE was kind of decent, and the combat system seemed better suited for such, to be honest, which wasn't really a good thing, because the game was based on PvP. A new raid boss was also introduced to the game, which brought with it a slew of legendary level 60 weapons, raising the level cap as well. The new expansion wasn't apparently successful enough, however.
Damn, bro.
Because just a few months later, the game would be shut down.
Ooh.
It's not hard to read between the lines and see that NHN was stating that essentially the reason for this was because there just wasn't enough players to play the game. Now, players are a bit of a ubiquitous term that developers or publishers can use to make their game sound more active than it actually is. For example, somebody who just plays a game for 10 seconds. But when you're boasting that only 300,000 players with no definition of what players means or equates to, then that's not a good sign. Just like that, Archlord 2, as fast as it came, was gone. And in its wake was a far more successful and impactful original title, Archlord 1. Usually a good sign of the legacy and the love that a title has is how dedicated and loyal the community is to preserving that game. This usually translates into community support of a community server. In the case of Archlord 2, not a private server in sight. In modern times as of this video, 2023, Archlord is actually still around. which is wild and a total testament that it was more than just some generic Korean MMO. It was the first Korean generic MMO, damn it. Just kidding. But private servers like Arconia have existed and are running now for some time. They're free to play and it gives you the best chance of testing the game if you haven't played it already. Just AC is another one, and I'm not sure what the differences are between the two, other than that Arconia has some basic stuff that you can donate for. 2 successful running private servers means that players who never got the chance to try Archlord can, and for those that just miss it and played it the first time, well, they can take a trip down nostalgia lane when they feel like it. But officially, Archlord 1 and 2 are dead, and there doesn't seem to be any more talk about the franchise from NHN since. I love hearing that music because it means that we've progressed through the timeline and it's...
How cool would it be if like some of these old studios that are like with these MMOs are dying out, right? If someone could like buy their fucking rights and just remake the game? Surely we're gonna get to that point soon where some rich nerd can just do that.
It's time to put our detective cap on and process it on everyone's favorite final deduction. It wasn't free to play at launch. Codemaster lost the rights. It had a boring leveling grind. Releasing a failed sequel.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah.
That failed sequel resulted in them shutting the first game down. It aged poorly. It was fairly generic past the whole Archlord gimmick.
If everyone gives Divi $2, he could buy WildStar.
Has their hands in way more things than just video game development and video games in general. So perhaps Archlord is a pretty low priority for them, which is sad. But all things must come to an end, whether ceremoniously or not. At least we can still play Archlord on private servers with relatively no issues. A game that's now been going on for 17 years strong. Thanks for watching.
Ooh. Oh no. Bad news, Divi. It's owned by NCSoft. That's never gonna happen. That's brutal, bro. Oh my god. That's so fucking rough. Voice reveal when? Yes. Real voice reveal? So true. Alright, gamers. This is a weird week. I do apologize for the short streams. But yeah, it's end of financial year, so I have to actually get up at like 6 in the fucking morning tomorrow. Oh, wait, cancel. They just ended stream. Don't worry. That's crazy. But yeah, so we'll have a slightly longer stream on Sunday. I would get banned for that. It's the feet guy. It is. We're going to rank Gura, the feet guy. He's playing with Isurus, I think. Anyway, I love you all. Have fun. Mwah, mwah, mwah.